Hello students, and welcome to this explanation of a question called CORNWALL. This question is quite interesting because it integrates a lot of calculations together with the post-employment benefit in terms of a defined contribution plan. So this is quite an interesting question. They say that CORNWALL has a financial year end of 30 June 2018 for the current year, and you will see they also ask some 2019. The year end is normally on 30 June. Then they also tell you that there are two divisions. They do construction, and then they also have a division that produces biofuel, which is sold and also used in the business's own processes. Then they give you an extract of the remuneration packages of different types of employee categories. So I really like this as well, where you have different types of employees, and then also some of them left, some of them joined the business and were recruited. So the calculations are very interesting. So for the construction worker category, they say that these employees have a basic salary of 150,000 Rand a year, and they have a cost to company of 173,750, and I cross-checked it, so it does add up. The 7.5% benefit and the 13th check together with the basic salary gives you the cost to company. Then 7.5% is paid to the pension fund by both the employee and the employer, and they have a 13th check, or they get a 13th check, which is worth 1 month of basic salary. Please note that the benefits is paid pro rata, so it means that if you've not worked for this business the whole year, you will only get the benefit as it relates to the number of months for which you have been working for them. So if you only joined in the middle of the year, you will only get half a year of salary. You only get half a year of pension fund contributions, half a year of 13th check benefits. Then in the last note, they say that there are some leave days. They are entitled to 22 days a year. The unused leave can be transferred to the following year for 1 year. So they have obviously then a leave cycle that is 2 years, because you have years that build up, or days that build up in the first year. Those days are brought forward, and then when the next year lapses, they are forfeited. Then during the thereafter, outstanding leave days are paid out to the employee. So this is a vesting type of calculation that needs to be done. Then they say the leave accrues pro rata. Of course, if you've not worked the whole year, you will not get 22 days of a leave. And then they say if the employee leaves the service of the company, any compensation for the leave is forfeited. The current cycle started 1 July. So if you decide that you are going to resign, then you don't get the benefit. The next type of employee is the biofuel employees. And here we see that they are entitled to a 200,000 Rand basic salary, cost to company 240,000. They also get a 7.5% contribution to their pension fund. They also make a 7.5% contribution. Then their 13th check is worth 1.5 months of salary. They get 25 days leave. Again, the leave can be carried over for 1 year. Thereafter, it's paid out to them. It's again vesting. The leave accrues on a pro rata basis. And if the employee leaves, then again, the compensation is forfeited. They are in the same leave cycle as the construction workers. Then we have directors. For the directors, they earn 550,000 Rand a year. The cost to company is 696,700. They get the following fringe benefits. They get a 10% contribution by the employer, and then the employee contributes 7.5%. Then the 13th check is 2 months of salary, and they have 35 days per annum of leave. 20 of the days must be taken, otherwise it's forfeited. 15 days may be carried over indefinitely until they are dismissed or they retire. In the additional information, they said that they have a pension fund called CORNWALL Pension Fund, which is a defined contribution plan. Then in number 2, there's the number of employees for the year ended 30 June 2018. They say there is 108 there are 42 employees and 5 directors. But for the biofuel employees, 2 of them joined during the year on 1 November 2017. Then one of the directors retired on 31st of December, and this director was not yet replaced. Employees who were appointed, dismissed, or have resigned during the year have taken their full pro rata leave for the year. The remaining employees, other than in point 4, on average took the following leave. For 2018, they took 18 days for the construction workers, 19 days for biofuel, 30 days for the directors. Then the average during 2019 was 24 days for construction workers, 25 days for biofuel employees, 30 days for directors. Then they say staff who were newly appointed during the year was expected to take their full leave days for the year ended 30 June 2018. There are 250 working days in the year, and you can assume that the leave pay is based on the basic salary only. In point number 9, they say, as indicated in point number 1, Cornwall operates its own pension fund. During the year ended 30 June, total benefits of 3 million rand was paid from the fund, and the service costs amounted to 10% of the benefits paid. Interest is based on a rate of 12% per year. The actuarial loss was 200,000. The actuarial gain was 400,625 rand. Balances for the asset plan was 20 million rand on 1 July 2017, while the opening balances for the plan obligation was 15 million rand. You can ignore any salary escalations. In the first required part, they ask calculate the total annual pension fund contributions paid by Cornwall for the year ended. So sometimes we don't have an accounting problem, we have a reading problem. If we said what were the total contributions, then we would have combined what is paid by the employer and employee. But they're asking explicitly only for the amount paid by the employer. So they say pension fund contribution paid by Cornwall. So if they just say pension fund contributions or total pension fund, then it's the employee plus the employer. But here they're only asking for the employer. So we need to read carefully. Then they say calculate the provision for leave pay for the year ended 30 June 2019. Again, sometimes we have a reading problem. They said 2019. So please don't miss this. This is very important. I'm going to highlight it. By Cornwall, very important. 30 June 2019, very important, because the other required parts refer to the previous year, which was ending 2018. Then in number 3, they say refer to note number 9 and calculate for the year ended 30 June 2018 the closing balance for the plan asset and the closing balance for the plan liability. So that would now refer to our post-employment benefits in terms of this defined contribution plan. And then they also ask you to round all your calculations to 2 decimal places. Right, so let's get cracking. In order to do this calculation, I've just set up a framework for myself. Otherwise, I'm going to make videos that are like 200,000 hours long, and I have been known to do that. So let's avoid wasting your megabytes. So I have now, for the calculation relating to the pension fund contributions by the employer, I've split my calculation in several ways. So the first thing I did was I split it into the categories of employees, because there are construction workers, biofuel workers, and also directors. Then for the biofuel, I split it again in old and new. So this doesn't refer to age. Employees that were old mean they were there throughout the year. New employees were those who joined. There are 2 of them who joined on the 1st of November. Then with directors, I called it directors who remain and directors who left. So again, I split it into 2 because there are directors who remain throughout the year. Then there was 1 director who had retired. So we need to do separate calculations because of the pro rata. They weren't there for the whole year, so they're not going to get the full contribution benefit. So let's start with the contribution or the contribution of the pension fund relating to the construction workers. They tell us that the construction workers earn 150,000 Rand a year, and that the benefit paid by the employer is 7.5%. And if I look at the question, they tell me that there are 108 of them. So just going back to the question, There's 108 of them in note number 2. So I'm going to times it by 108 and I'm going to do that calculation. So 150,000 Rand, because that's based on the basic salary. If we look at it, the 7.5%, they said the contribution is 7.5% of basic salary. 0.075 times 108 employees. And that gives us 1,215,000. Right. Then there are too many lines, so I'm just going to delete some of them. And then we can look at the biofuel employees. So first we have employees who were there throughout the year. So if I look at the question, that would be 40 of them, because 2 of them joined in on the 1st of November. So 40 of them would have been there for the entire 2018. So I'm first going to do the calculation for those who were there the whole year, which I call in my calculation old employees. So here we say that the basic salary is 200,000 Rand. They also get a contribution from Cornwall with 7.5%, and there are 40 of them. Right, that gives us 600,000 Rand. Then we also need to go and take into account that there were employees who joined on the 1st of November. So they also get 200,000 Rand a year. They also get a 7.5% benefit. There are 2 of them. But now we need to go and check as to what happened with the timing, because we need to adjust it. They were appointed on the 1st of November, so they would have gotten a benefit end of November, end of December, end of January, February, end of March, April, May, end of June, for 8 months. I'm counting. So that gives us 8 months. So pro rata, we are adapting the benefit because they were not there for the whole year. 200,000 times 7.5%. times 2 of them, times 8 out of 12. And that gives me 20,000 Rand. Right, let's look at the directors. So we had some directors who remained through the whole year, 1 of them who left. So take into account the dates, please. If we look at the counting, there are 5 directors on 30 June. So on 1 July, there should have been 6, because when we counted them, there were 5 at year end, but 1 left. So there should have been 6 at the beginning of the year. So 5 of them remained through the whole year. 1 of them left during the year. Then in doing my calculation, I'm going to say directors earn 550,000 Rand a year. They get a contribution of 10%. So be careful not to just type 7 or write 7.5%. We are creatures of habit. There are 5 of them, and they were there for the whole year. So we can do that calculation. Then there's 1 director who left. He also earned 550,000 Rand a year, 10% benefit, 1 of him, and he left on the 31st of December. So the financial year started 1 July. So we would have paid him end of July, end of August, end of September, end of October, end of November, end of December. We would have paid him. He was working for us for 6 months, so we would have paid him for half a year. And that gives us 550 times 10%. I'm not going to say times 1. That's just annoying. And that gives us 27,500. I'm just going to calculate the sum of everything. And that would be the contribution paid by Cornwall. Please note again, by the employer. Paid 2,137,500. Right. That should have been then your answer for required number 1. Let's explore required number 2. Quite interesting. They're asking for leave pay calculations. So for the leave pay, we need to do a calculation for the year ended 30 June 2019. And again, I'm going to split my calculation just to show you something important. This sentence here, and you may not understand why, so that's why I'm going to illustrate. They've given us a sentence here where they say, and I'm just going to highlight it maybe a different color. Let's make it green. The employees that were appointed, dismissed, or resigned have taken their full pro rata leave. So for 2018, if someone joined or left in 2018, there will be no leave for them, right? So that answer will be nothing, 0. But I am going to demonstrate to you in a calculation what I mean and why the sentence in the green is important. So I've split my calculations again into the different categories of workers, and then I said for the biofuel, all the employees and 2 new who joined. For the directors, I said those who remain and the 1 who left. So for the construction workers, if we are doing a calculation for leave pay, we're calculating the provision for leave pay. So please note that there's a difference between the provision of leave pay versus the leave pay expense, and I do demonstrate it very clearly on the slide. So please make sure that you go through that set of slides. And we need to calculate the provision. So we're trying to calculate the liability leg of this calculation. And we need to start by saying, but what is the value of a leave day? And the value of the leave day depends on the category of employee. So if I look at my construction workers, they have 150,000 Rand a year. That is their salary. I'm going to use the basic salary and not the cost to company, because this is a vesting type of leave that we are working with here. So we're going to pay it out in cash, so it's vesting. Thus, we are going to use the basic salary. So I'm going to say it's 150,000 divided by 250 working days given in the question. So again, the 250 days, where did I get it from? It is here, note number 8, 250 work days. So that is a total of 600 Rand. So I also continued to then calculate it whilst I was at it. I also calculated it for the biofuel. So for the biofuel employees, they earn 200,000 Rand. Again, I'm going to use the basic salary because this is a vesting leave. Divided by 250, that gives me a leave day value of 800 Rand a day. And then for the directors, I'm also going to calculate it so that I do all the calculations simultaneously. They have a 550,000 Rand salary per year at 250 days. So that gives us 550 divided by 250. Let me just delete what I've typed so that I can take you through the calculations. All right, so let's explore. For the construction workers, the cycle started on 1 July 2017. So it needs to run over 2 years because they say that the leave can be carried over for 1 year. So it should be 2 years so that it can be carried over. So it will accumulate it during 1 year and then carry it over for another. So if leave can be carried over once, we have a leave cycle of 2 years. If leave can be carried over twice, we have a leave cycle of 3 years. If it can be carried over 3 times, we have a leave cycle of 4 years. So I think you get the pattern then. So when the leave cycle starts, there are no days to bring forward because we start on a clean slate. We would have paid out the leave days that were not taken for the year ended 30 June 2017 because this is a vesting type of leave. So for the entitlement of the construction workers, they are entitled to 22 days. And then taken, they say during 2018, it's expected on average that they're going to take 18 days. So they've given us a summary for both 2018 and 2019. There's the 2018, 18 days. For 2019, they take 24 days. So I'm just going to slot it in while I see it. And then the entitlement will always be the same because that's a contract. Normally your entitlement to leave will only change once you are promoted. So what remains if we have 22 days and 18 of them are taken? We have 4 days remaining, which can be carried forward once. So there are 4 days. Combined, we have 26 days. If 24 days are taken, there should be 26 minus 24 is 2 days left. Right, now we should be doing a calculation, and this is where the reading problem comes in. For the year ended 2019. So we need to do calculations for 2019, but we had to do 2018 because of this bringing forward of days influences 2019. So if they don't do 2018, I don't know what is carried forward. But I only want a leave pay calculation for 2019. So thus I'm going to say there are 2 days in 2019. They are worth 600 Rand. So please be careful if there are salary escalations, because then we would have had to increase the 600 Rand. Yet they say ignore salary escalation. So we can assume in 2019 it's also 600 Rand a day. And then we need to times it by the number of employees. And I believe there are 108 of them. So the leave pay provision as it relates for 2019 to the construction workers is worth 129,600. Right, let's explore of the biofuel employees. We again start with 0 days brought forward. I believe the entitlement was 24 days. Then we have to go and check what were the days taken. And here it was in 2019, 25 and 18 in 2018. So that's 18 and 25. So the remaining days will be 24 minus the 18. And then the closing balance becomes the opening balance to 2019. And here we're going to say it's then 6 plus the 24 they are entitled to minus the 25 taken, which leaves us with 5 days. Calculating then for 2019, we are going to say that there are 5 days times the 800 Rand per day times 40 old biofuel employees. And if I type that answer, it's 160,000. So I'm just going to highlight it in green so that I can show you the effect thereof. So brought forward, there would have been nothing. These people started working on the 1st of November. So they were entitled to a total of 24 days, I beg your pardon, pro rata. So they worked November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and June. They worked for 8 months during 2018. So we need to go pro rata. They would have had 16 days. So therefore taken, they said they took all their leave, so minus 16. And as you can see, it results in nothing. So nothing is can be brought forward. And then in the next year, they will be entitled to full 24 days. And what is taken during 2019 is 25 days. So you encounter a problem here. So let's go back to the question. They say the staff who were newly appointed were expected to take their full leave days for the year ended June 2018. And it should also read then, and let's add that, and 30 June 2019, because you cannot take 25 days. So in this calculation, I'm going to go back and say minus the 24 then, which results in nothing. So this calculation will not affect your provision because there's nothing remaining to be calculated. Right. Let's move on to the directors. So we have the directors who remain. And again, the cycle starts, there's nothing. They are entitled to 35 days. And I believe that they take 30 days in both instances. And they're always entitled to 35. So they have left over 5 days. Those 5 days are carried forward. Then they have 40 days in total, of which they take 30. So 10 remains. Again, for 2019, I'm going to work with the yellow. And I'm going to say then for the leave pay, we're going to say it's 10 days times 2,200 Rand a day. And there are 5 of them. Right, then what about the directors or the director who left? Let's explore that. I didn't type a layout for him, it seems. So if I copy the layout, he was indeed then also not entitled to 35 days because during 2018 he left in December. So he was entitled to 6 months, which was 17 and a half days. And then they say they've taken all their days. So 17 and a half, which means there's nothing to carry over, nothing to start with. Then for this year, it would be not applicable because he doesn't work for this company in 2019. So there we have it. If they say that they've taken all their days during 2018 and 19, then I'm just going to highlight it in green. This is going to be the effect, that it will not impact the leave pay that you have to calculate. So let's see, going back to our leave pay total, what is then the leave pay provision? For the leave pay, what is the total then? We need to get to a sum of everything. So it's going to be the sum of, you're going to start with the construction workers. We're going to add the employees who are referred to as old. Just now see what's happening. So we add to that the employees of the biofuel. If this wants to now work. And we're going to have the remaining directors. So let's start again. It's the sum of this plus the old biofuel workers plus the directors who remain. So the total there, 399,600. So that is the sum of 110,000. Add to that the 160. Add to that the 129,600. That's how we got to it. I'm just going to retype it, make sure it's correct, because Excel is not my friend today. And I don't want to give you an incorrect memorandum. 129,600. Yeah, 399,600. So this covers required 1 and required 2. Required 3 relates to our long-term benefit, our post-employment benefit, and that one I